I can only be a proud wife to say, you know what, this is where you can stand and you can actually be on this platform to really be like, this is how it can go.
Right.
You know, it can have its rough seasons, but even in the rough seasons, you can get through, especially if you have God in it.
Welcome to Sickle Cell Sundays. I am your host, Hula Afolabi, and today we have two special guests. Would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Brian Darden. I'm 29 years old. I am from Reno Valley, California, and I'm a personal trainer.
Nice. I love the last name.
Last name? I'm Dexter Darden, hence the last name. And, I'm from Camden, New Jersey, but I've been living in LA now for the past 14 years, and I'm an actor.
Yep. All right. So for our viewers and listeners that love a good love story, can you tell us how you both met?
Yeah. So I'll start off. I was playing college basketball at Santa Monica College.
Mm-hmm.
My teammate at the time was actually dating his good friend at the time.
Okay. Double date vibe.
Yeah.
Right. I guess from what he says, my teammate had told him that he has a friend or she has a friend.
Yeah, I mean, your teammate reached out. So her teammate was dating a buddy of mine, and her teammate was like, "I got a friend for you," and I was like, "I'm cool. I'm enjoying my singleness." And it was like 2016, and then she's like, "I got a friend for you," and I said, "Okay," but I kind of paused it off.
Mm-hmm.
But then we followed each other on socials, and then so one night I saw them getting shots up in the gym, and on the late night. And I was like, "Yo, who is you getting shots at?" She's like, "I told you I got a friend for you."
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So then I DM'd, and then in 2017 we officially
met. And the way we officially met wasn't even planned as well. So that, goes to show how God was in it this whole time, really.
Mm-hmm.
But it was at a premiere, Bronzeville premiere. He was in the show, and I was working that premiere.
Oh, wow.
And so he's walking the red carpet, and I'm looking at the end of the red carpet like, is that? And then he turns and looks at me, and we're like, whoa. And that's how we officially had met. And then from there, we had went on a couple dates, and then he took off for a maze runner in Cape Town. And I was still playing college basketball, so we had decided at that time to just remain good friends, which we did.
Mm-hmm.
We remained good friends up until August of the 2023.
Mm-hmm.
I would say is when we said, okay, you know what? Let's do this.
Let's start dating.
Let's
That's
start dating.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh,
Yeah.
friends before lovers. Come on.
Yeah. Big friends.
So you guys are friends for a long time. When would you say, the big elephant in the room, sickle cell came up in the conversation? Like, did you guys talk about the trait or you having it when you were friends or when you started dating?
Had to, yeah.
For sure.
Had to. Trying to think timeline wise.
I felt like I might have told you about sickle cell back in
When we were friends.
When we were friends,
Mm-hmm.
but like it didn't become a serious thing until we started
dating. Absolutely, yeah.
And with her being half Jamaican and half Mexican, like it was definitely something that we were like, oh, we gotta get on this. And shout out to my cousin Anisha Berkeley, who also has sickle cell in our family.
Okay.
She was one of the first people to realize that we started dating. And her and her husband David came out to visit in LA from Maryland, and she was like, all right, well, if y'all gonna date, y'all gotta check on sickle cell.
Yep.
Early. She said
Before you fall in love.
took her to go buy stuff to make cookies, and then they had the whole conversation.
So true.
Oh, that's so cute, though.
Oh, yeah, she's amazing. She's
now let's
amazing.
go buy
Shout
cookies
out
and
to her.
talk about something serious.
Yeah. And for me, I had run into complications with dating somebody and not even letting them know I had sickle cell. And then, midway too, we would talk about the relationship maybe even getting serious, or I would be sick in the hospital or something, and then be like, oh, let me go check on this. And then they had the trait.
Oh, wow.
And then we'd be like, that definitely puts a roadblock in it. And so for her and I, we had such a long-term history of friendship and even just open communication that having difficult conversations have always been easier for us.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that we learned in August when we started dating. It was like, oh, we've been having difficult conversations forever.
From the rip.
Yeah.
With you with your school, or even hoops or design and fashion school, like what you went through. So like all of those kinds of things. We were used to having difficult conversations, but never knew how we would deal with it in a relationship. the opportunity presented itself.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Dexter, we're kicking you off.
Bye.
It's not about you
I'll
anymore.
see you in a minute.
It is, but is it? So you and Dexter talked about having tough conversations
Yes.
early on.
Yes.
And now that you are married, I'm sure those conversations have come up when it comes to like family planning or fertility. How has your feelings over the conversations changed, or how do you navigate them now?
I would say the navigation part, it definitely has grown. It's been a lot of, I'll be transparent, as of recent, it's been a lot of trying to make sure that we maneuver on our own terms, on our timeline, and stick to that. Because you tend to have where people do love us, but they have a lot of opinions. And those opinions can seem to come in and try to alter what we have planned.
Right.
And I think that's why also the way we did our big day was very meaningful for us. And we knew that at the end of the day, we wanted it to be for us, because there's so much in our lives that we tend to actually do for other people. And not to say that we regret any of it, but it was one of those decisions where, because it is such a big decision, we wanted to stand firm on what we know and what we believe in with ourselves. So the navigation, I would say, has been getting easier. Those tough conversations, they can be tough. They can be tough, but I think the way that we have learned to communicate and navigate within our union, it's made it a lot easier. And the trusting part is so big, because it allows us to be able to really make sure that, like the check-in, like, how are you feeling about this, and that's so important. And I don't think I even ever really grew up with taking the time to make sure to see, how am I feeling, and connect with self to be able to know that, I'm staying true to myself throughout every part of the way. So yeah, I would say that it's growing, and it's going to continue to grow. Those tough conversations are going to continue to be, but the beauty in it is that you choose that person to be there with you every step of the way, and knowing that no matter what, that we're still going to be together, and we're still going to hold strong in that. So
that's beautiful. I love that, especially because once you're married, it's really the two of you. Like, you start your own family, and so you have to put each other first.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful.
Which has been a tug, a tug in the best way, because it makes you learn your own boundaries for you guys. It allows you to step foot in a way where, when you lean on faith, and sometimes not everyone will understand what that looks like. And even ourselves, we tend to be like, oh, this is what leaning on faith truly looks like, you know? And so it's brand new to us. It's something that we're going to definitely continue to grow in. But like I said, when you choose that partner, it allows you to do it in a way where it's like, you know what? Everything's going to be okay.
Right.
At the end of the day. So.
And will.
Yeah, and will. And will.
I love how you mentioned staying true to yourself. For people that, get in relationships and often get lost in the other person, especially when you're dating somebody with a chronic illness, that can be easy to do. What advice would you give, or like, how do you navigate balancing, everything that you're doing and all things for yourself along with dating Dexter?
When focusing on myself and, doing my career and my personal life, when you're with a person, especially with that illness, you always want to make sure that you do tend to make sure that you keep them at the forefront of your mind. So that's my biggest thing, is knowing that stress level can also alter that. And so just making sure that we're always on the same page, and really just reading him. I'm very, as a woman, we're very intuitive already. And I'm very observant, so I can really tell real quick when something is wrong, or if he isn't feeling well, or if he wakes up and he's not hitting the gym, rather he has a heating pad on. Like, I'm looking for the little things, and those little things tend to, it allows me to open the door to be like, what's up? What's going on? And that communication is so huge. Like, at the end of the day, and that's what I'm learning every day still, is how important that communication is, because when you keep silent, it doesn't help anybody at the end of the day. It only hurts. So, I would say just staying observant, and within knowing how symptoms come up for him, how he's very proactive. So I would give him that. He's very proactive on that, with his medicines, with like I said, the heating pads, the hot showers. He'll hit his hot tub in the backyard. Like, he's very proactive. But just, I would say for myself is just making sure I stay observant on that. And like I said, that stress level, making sure that in his career, because it is such an, entertainment industry is a thing. So, and it can always lead to just high stress. Just making sure that he's not too stressed out. If I could take something off his plate, then making sure I do.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that he has you. When would you say you first learned how to notice certain things that Dexter goes through to realize when, like, he needed a break or when he was in pain or about to go into a crisis?
That's a great question. Fight night. Fight night.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the big test, honestly, for me. It was. I would say so, because he was in such a rigoring place of getting in shape for that role.
Right.
And we already know the whole making sure that you're listening to your body even while you do the workouts and all of that. And so he was doing the 5 a.m. wake ups, mile runs. And then on top of that, I mean, it was a whole 9 to 5 schedule of just working out between the boxing, between the choreographing. And so I would say for me, it was around that time where I was like, okay, making sure literally every day, how is he doing? And it was kind of tough though, because he was in Atlanta. And so I was out here. There was only a portion where I was out there for like a week, but even then, even during that week that I was there, it was for reshoots. So he had already kind of went through that process, of doing his scenes. But the phone calls were really big, our FaceTime calls, just checking in with him after his work sessions and seeing how he was feeling. But again, I have to give him so much credit because he knows his body and he knew the proactiveness in it. He actually got these pills. They're called Heart of Soil. It's a brand. Anyways, but and that's just an example of like how he would do his research, making sure, I don't want to be on these heavy medications. I want to do it as natural as I can. And so that's how he would make sure that he was good. But for me, during that time, again, it was just making sure that I would check in, making sure his mental is okay more than anything, because I think no matter how your body's doing, especially as a trainer, like, I know that mental aspect is a switch. And that's what can take you further than your body can at the end of the day. So really just making sure his mentality was up to par, making sure that he was strong in that, which he was. But yeah, I would say, to answer your question, that was my first big test. Really making sure, I'm like, are you good?
Right.
Where can I help? But yeah.
For those of you that don't know, Fight Night is an amazing show on Peacock. And Dexter plays Ali. So go check it out if you haven't.
Go check that out. Got to.
And both of you, and both of you are very big on fitness and like healthy lifestyle choices, as you just said. Is there any specific like daily routines that you both, adopted in order for his health to stay as good as possible?
Absolutely. I have a routine every morning. I'm doing my own little workout, and ever since we started dating, I was like, come on. So
get in the gym.
Let's get in the gym. And so it would, our day, at least 5 times a week, we would hit the gym. And those, it's so funny because I used to be such a solo workout person, thinking like, I need to have this hour for myself to mentally have for myself. And, ever since he started joining, I'm like, oh, I like this. I like having a partner. And to top it off, he'll help put the plates on.
Gotta worry about the plates no more.
But it was, I would say the routine in that has even allowed us to even build just within ourselves that communication, having fun, something separate from just our regular lives. That to add into the fun of things, I think really, really helps.
Being around Dexter, seeing what he goes through, what he's involved in, has any of it influenced your perspective on health equity or advocacy for marginalized community?
That's a good question. Marginalized community from like the fitness world or from his world?
From his world. I would say like underrepresented communities, like, sickle cell, it predominantly affects, African Americans. And so there's not enough advocacy or awareness of it, or there's other diseases like lupus, that don't get a lot of awareness like other conditions do.
That's a good question.
And so think of it in that sense.
Yeah, so there isn't a lot of advocacy, right, in his world. And I think the beauty in recognizing that right now for him has been amazing, because he's starting to find his way to bring that to the table. He growing up in the entertainment industry, he's seen where people have had it and don't come out saying that they've had it.
Right.
Right. And these are people who have made it. And it's like, why not? Because you're going to be able to allow the younger generation, including his generation, to really be able to stand strong in that. And so with that, though, with maybe not allowing, I should say, maybe with him not seeing that coming from that older generation, he's found it in himself to be like, you know what, that's me.
Right.
And so he's actually had some projects lined up where he is going to be able to make sure that he can stand firm on that a lot more. I do know that he grew up in a camp, and that camp he's been with for many, many years. And in that camp, he's allowed himself to be an advocate for sickle cell patients, because he himself was in that camp before. And I think it's such a beautiful thing where that line up, where you have those kids in that camp who do have that disease, and they can look at Dex like being in the Maze Runners, being in all these things,
right,
and being like, oh, I can too.
Yep.
And so I would say with the projects that he does have lined up that he's is thinking of doing, I can only be a proud wife to say, you know what, this is where you can stand and you can actually be on this platform to really be like, this is how it can go.
Right.
It can have its rough seasons, but even in the rough seasons, you can get through, especially if you have God in it. So he stands firm on his faith more than anything. And I think with the route that he's taking right now, and with just even learning how to do it, right? Because it's such a process. It's not just like, okay, I want to do this for it. It's like, no, you have to have the people behind you, that community behind you, to do it. And I think just having the community with you on this podcast, like this is step one too, So it's a beautiful thing to have that community come into play, and just making sure that it's a thing that needs to be spoken. It's definitely something that we don't even know that so many people deal with it. And there's a beauty in having that community to know that they deal with it, and you can too, because it's so tough, especially as a young kid. Over the years, as you get older, you tend to figure out how your body maneuvers and how to be proactive in the things. But as a young kid, you don't know, you only go through that day by day, just hoping that you can get better. And hoping that you have a future at the end. So, to kind of answer your question, I really do think that the advocacy, it can be more. But I do think that it's coming as well. So.
Amen.
Yeah.
I have 2 closing questions for you. And before I ask them, is there anything that we have not discussed or talked about that you would like to share?
For those that don't know, I am a personal trainer. I've done online fitness predominantly, and that's been my baby for the past, I would say, 4 years now. It's been a growing experience, because at the end of the day, it is entrepreneurship, and we all know
it's not easy.
that is not easy. But it's growing, and I've also been a part of the youth group at my church, and I've been a part of that for about 1.5 years now. And the way God works is really crazy, because he's turned me to now navigate that in my fitness space. I actually have an event coming up for young girls.
Oh, wow.
And it's going to be about fitness and wellness, but I have such a heart now for the youth, and I see like where God is pulling me now. And sometimes, the way that works, you have one plan to go one way. So I had a plan for 2025 to go one way, and it seems to take a whole turn, and now it's going towards the youth. And I'm just really trying to surrender into that and really embrace it. And so, I'm excited for that.
I'm excited too. Closing questions. For partners, what advice would you give to someone new to dating someone with sickle cell disease?
Allow them to be vulnerable, and to understand their vulnerability, you have to be able to be vulnerable with yourself.
Right.
And that empathy and that compassion towards them, understanding who they are first before their career, before really before their career, and who they are to be in the outside world. Just know that they are their own person, and that disease is something that they carry with them day in and day out, and it's something that you may not even really be able to understand and comprehend yourself. But just as long as you know that you let them know that you're there for them, that you're observant in ways that maybe they don't even know, and just that open communication and making sure that they know, you know what, today isn't the best day, I need to be in bed all day, then cool, we'll be in bed all day, and then we'll make sure that if you need anything, I got you. Like, just making sure that hand is always there with them.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, open hand.
And then lastly, for the warriors, right? What message do you wish more people with sickle cell heard about their worth in relationships?
That they can too. Because it's already in them. And that outside physical appearance sometimes can take a toll, especially now in society, where you may feel like, you know what, I don't think I can, or you may feel limited to a lot, but you can too. In any career world, taking care of yourself, is of course top priority, but knowing that you still can dream, knowing that there is a future for you, and to believe in it and stand firm in that. And it may be uncomfortable, right? Because everyone in the outside world is going to give you the white noise and opinions as to how you should live your life. And if you have faith and you stand firm in God, I really feel like, anything is possible. So.
I lied. One more question. How does it feel to be married?
Amazing. Amazing. It's so crazy, because if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have been like, nah. No way. But the way things if you just allow really God to work, man, and like fully surrender to his work, like it makes a difference when you try to make your own plan and you try to still follow your own plan and disregard what he's trying to do. But if you let go and let God, it really is a beautiful thing. And the way that he came and entered into our lives, and the way that he's worked in our union from jump before marriage, within the pre-engagement, and us seeing like our eyes just kept growing bigger and bigger, like, this is bigger than even us, And it's such a beautiful thing to know that you have a partner for a lifetime, to be able to go through any and all things. Any and all things. So,
let go and let God.
Let go and let God.
Yep. And with that, we are closing this episode of Sickle Cell Sundays. Thank you for tuning in. Whether you're watching or listening, please like, subscribe, comment, and share with your friends and family.